Welcome to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting important events, interesting people, and key issues in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. After the brutal winter of 2014, stuck inside, cabin fever, gray days, and the only exercise we got was shoveling snow, the nice weather is finally here. Let's go outside and enjoy it. We have two people who not only know what there is to do, but enjoy doing it themselves. Let's meet Maggie Byrne, who's with the Lake Michigan Coastal Program for the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, and Sandi Weindling, who is the Director of Marketing and Development for the Dunes Learning Center. I think I just told our viewers that you are people who know how to have fun. Is that really true?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are lucky to not just work in roles that let us get in touch with the outdoors, but to enjoy it ourselves.
Now, I'm used to seeing you kind of professionally dressed up, but this is not how you dress all the time in your jobs, is it?
No.
No, rarely. Tie-dye is a big part of my uniform.
Tie-dye. So the heels and all this stuff is really just making you guys look good for TV?
Absolutely.
Tends to sink into the sand.
It is a little tough to walk. So tell me, if we've got people watching this, I mean, summer's here. So what are you telling people? What do they need to get out and do this summer? What's fun?
Well, there's all kinds of stuff to do around here, especially if you're trying to get outdoors and do some hiking. I highly recommend checking out Indiana Dunes State Park. There's a lot of different hikes that you can do there.
Why the Indiana Dunes versus the National Lakeshore?
Well, that's just because I know it the best, and also my office happens to be located there, so I really like that place, yeah.
So it's kind of a plug.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit.
So that's one thing, hike in the dunes. What do you think?
Taking off from where Maggie started, or ended up, the Indiana Dunes State Park is right next to her office. The National Park's right next to my office, but I was going to say, this region is so blessed to have so many really great natural resources that regardless where you live here, there's probably a gem, within a mile of your home. And so you don't have to go far from home to find something really great. There's probably a bike trail or a body of water or a hiking trail really close by, and it's likely that you've never checked it out.
Okay, I'm gonna try it like this. So somebody calls you up and they say, I live over in the Munster area in Dyer, and I got all of these relatives coming in town. What can I have them do?
That's a very good question.
It's close to home, either one of you.
It's closer to Maggie's home, but I think there's some good bike trails that go through there. So I would say that a great way to get an overview for the region is to take the length of either a hiking trail or a bike trail or even a long walk on the beach, which is not close to Munster, and see how things change from the ground level of where you are. That's one of the really great things about the ecology here, is that there's so much change in even a short distance. And
everybody thinks this is so flat, but when you drive in a car, everything does feel kind of flat. When you start walking, all of a sudden you go, whoa, this is up and down. So it is kind of interesting. What else would you tell somebody to do?
Well, close to where I live in Griffith, there is Oak Ridge Prairie County Park. They have lots of great hiking trails. They have lots of great birding opportunities. In the winter, you can do some cross-country skiing there. I know we're talking about summer,
right?
But
everybody's trying to forget the winter, Maggie. It's like, forget the winter.
There are things to enjoy about winter, but definitely I prefer summer. So yeah, Oak Ridge Prairie County Park. Also Hoosier Prairie, that's owned by the DNR, and there's a lot of hiking trails there as well.
Why do we have, well, first of all, we have a ton of places, as you talked about. Why do people seem to not know we have all these places?
People lead busy lives, and they just don't have the opportunity to get out and explore as much as they would like to and should, given the number of options that we have here. It's often intimidating to go to a new place that you don't know about, but it's worth mentioning that most of us are on the internet a lot of the day, and there are maps for all of these trails, whether they're biking or hiking trails, and there are a lot of events that can help you get accustomed or introduced to these trails so that when you go by yourself, it's not for the first time.
It's interesting because I know when my family's traveled, we go to the parks, and they always have the interpreters and people. They give all these great stories and tell you all this stuff, but here, it's like you don't think to go to that stuff. Why are we still missing that opportunity here?
It could be that people are taking it for granted. It's right there in their backyard, and so maybe they just see it as the swamp or the woods in the back. And they probably don't realize how rich and how much biodiversity that exists in these places and how many wonderful things there are to see.
So back to other than things we've mentioned, if I said, so Maggie, I'll get to be your boss. Take the afternoon off and go do what you want to do. Go do your favorite thing. What would you go do?
I'm going to go kayaking on Lake Michigan, actually. That's my favorite thing.
You're big on the kayaking thing. We'll get back to that. So what would you do, Sandi?
I like to go find undiscovered corners of usually the National Lakeshore because it's close to both my home and work. And you would think a park that sees millions, literally millions of visitors every year, that every area would be, well signed and very accessible. But still, there's a lot of little corners of the park, of both parks, that very few people visit. And I find it really rewarding and peaceful myself to be in a place that is very quiet.
So is there a part of the park you haven't seen yet?
And
Really?
yeah, there are a lot of corners of the park that I haven't seen yet.
The National Lakeshore encompasses about 15,000 acres. So
Oh, you haven't covered all 15,000 acres? Okay, I get it. So how much have you seen, do you think?
I'm sure a very tiny portion of it. There's just so much to see there, and there's so many different things to do.
Okay. Now, you guys are both big boat people, right? You have your own fleets.
Yes.
So you have how many?
I own 4 kayaks.
Own 4 kayaks. Go ahead and make your little comment. And one is located,
One happens to be in Puerto Rico.
oh, how nice.
All mine are at home.
And how many do you have?
I have 2 river kayaks, a 17-foot canoe, a surf kayak, and a sailboat.
Her fleet's bigger than yours.
It sure is. It's a little more impressive.
Although you have some of Puerto Rico, so we'll maybe call that a tie. It's a balance. So why are you guys such big boat? Do people really think about Northwest Indiana as a boating place?
Probably not. We're both on the board of directors for the Northwest Indiana Paddling Association, and we are actually, as an organization, we're trying to promote the idea of paddling. It's one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now, and so we want to make sure that people understand that there's a lot of opportunities to do that in their own backyard here in Northwest Indiana.
Okay, and so we have some paddles here, right?
Yes.
And these are paddles?
Yeah. Well, that one is Sandi, so I'll let her talk about it.
This is a paddle?
That's a canoe paddle.
Okay.
And that's
Oh, I called it
actually,
an oar earlier, didn't I? It's not an oar.
Oars are a different thing, and neither of us mentioned that we had a rowboat in our fleet, and that would be what you would need an oar for.
Right.
That or a
Got it.
gondola. But
Paddle thing scares me a little bit. It reminds me of school. I don't know. I was raised in that era where they actually use these things on people.
Oh, it's
I
just
think
that
this-
word.
this sort of speaks to the diversity that's available in paddling and why it's so popular is because paddling encompasses everything from a canoe that you can take the whole family in and go for several days in, or a kayak that you can go on a little sport trip.
So why is this one curved?
It's an ergonomic thing. It helps you to get the most power out of each of your strokes without causing undue fatigue in your arms.
And why are there so many scars on it?
Well, that's what happens when you go off into unmarked territory. Sometimes you hit a rock or something.
And
Paddles have a lot of use.
That happens. Okay, and Maggie, you're going to talk about,
So this is a kayak paddle. As you can
This is
see,
long.
it's double-ended. Yep. You have to be able to make sure that you can reach over both sides of your kayak.
It's sized for you, so you actually want the length to have to be proportionate to your own height and your own wingspan.
so is that your wingspan?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So it must take a little bit to kind of get used to these.
It does. That one also, the paddle shaft is also sort of ergonomically shaped so that it's causes less fatigue as you're
And you guys
paddling.
brought lots of stuff. You also brought
A
a
PFD.
pink.
We brought you a life jacket so you could try it on.
A
I
li-
thought it was nice and color coordinated with your jacket.
So you want me to try this one on?
Please.
So.
So
maybe I
let
might
me
have to-
help you with that.
I'll have to stand up here, so I want to stand up. All right, so let me see if I can put this thing on.
Paddle sports are one of the most popular and fastest growing sports, and particularly in this region where we have so much water. But one of
How do
the,
I look?
It's
like a
beautiful.
real
You look like you're ready
paddler?
to get out on the water.
Yeah, I don't think I can zip it up because I think it'll kill my microphone, but you obviously have to connect it. I have my own knife.
You do.
This is pretty cool. I won't pull it out.
That's standard
You can pull
safety
it out if you
equipment.
want.
So, standard safety equipment.
Yeah.
It is. In
I'll never
case
get
you
it
get
back in there.
entangled in a strainer
Oh.
and need to free yourself
There
quickly,
you go.
Oh my gosh,
There's
this is like a
also-
real weapon.
a whistle in there usually.
Oh.
It's an
Yeah.
emergency
Well, you know, you guys were
Emergency
talking
whistle.
earlier, I don't want to take up so much time just with this, but about how safety is one of the things that's kind of ignored.
It
So I'll
is.
let you talk.
Especially on a weekend like last weekend where it was sunny and warm and people were anxious to get out in the water, and I live near the beach, you'll see dozens of people out in boats that they've bought at Walmart or one of our local retailers, and with no personal flotation device. And it's easy to take for granted that the water is going to be calm and everything's going to be fun, but it's a very big body of water with potential to be very dangerous, and so it's always wise to take proper safety precautions before you go out.
Absolutely. I'm a kayaking instructor, and that's sort of the number one rule that I start out every class with telling people is that make sure if you're going to get out on the water, you're wearing your life jacket under every possible circumstance.
But I'm a
even if-
good swimmer.
And I'm going to say that that's great. It's good that you're a good swimmer, but you know, with water temperatures being what they are right now, you're not going to be able to swim for very long. You know, the Coast Guard has done some. They have this video that's called Cold Water Boot Camp, and they demonstrate how, you know, just in 60-degree water, if somebody jumps into that water and they're completely immersed, it takes less than 10 minutes for their muscles to stop working. So if you're in water, cold water for 10 minutes without a life jacket, you know, you're not going to get very far.
Now, I was listening the other day to, of course, National Public Radio, Lakeshore Public Radio, and there was kind of a shocking statistic to me about how few people in this country really know how to swim. It was something like 15 or 20%, I think it was 15% of people can actually swim real basic, can do 5 strokes and stay in the water and can stay floating for 5 minutes, or, I mean, something sounded very simple to me. I was like, 15% of Americans. What happened to our ability to swim and be in water?
I would say it's gone the way of the time spent outdoors. In my role at Dunes Learning Center, we have access to a lot of facts about this, and it turns out that back when we were all kids, we would spend the whole day outdoors. Your mom would have to call you in for dinner. These days, kids spend less than 30 minutes a day outdoors per week sometimes. And so people aren't spending as much time outdoors, and so they're just not getting a chance to practice those sorts of skills.
Well, speaking of kids, because you had some pretty interesting pictures you sent, maybe we'll get some of those up on the screen, of kids really enjoying the outdoors. And
Yep.
so we're not seeing the kids getting into the outdoors as much as they used to, is what you're saying. What's missing, or how do we entice those families to get out there?
You know, that's a really good question. I don't really have an answer for that. I actually happened to be, last week I was at Michigan City at Krieger Middle School, where they actually have like an outdoor environmental learning center. And I noticed, I was sort of watching the kids, and I was kind of a chaperone, and I noticed that they were having a really good time. They didn't seem to be bothered by the bugs or by the heat or by the sun or any of that stuff. And so I'm also curious about that. Why
I
is
noticed
it?
in most of the pictures you brought, the kids were covered with mud. So
That does tend to lend itself to fun. It's my observation that, you know, we were talking earlier about the many things you could do outdoors, and I would say, for starters, make sure you take the kids with. So a lot of times adults will spend time outdoors and leave the kids at home. So take the kids with when you go exploring. And then as well, adults are spending less time outside as well. And maybe they're rightfully nervous about things like ticks and sun exposure and water safety. And that nervousness translates and communicates to kids and makes them more timid about being outside. So I'm all about providing really safe ways for kids to enjoy the outdoors because it's so beneficial to them.
do you really witness that? You know, the parents who's like, you know, don't touch that. Don't do that. Don't get dirty.
All the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
So how can a kid have fun if you can't get dirty.
Let me suggest summer camp. You know, there's all kinds of research that describes the benefits of kids being outdoors. And summer camp, even a week-long summer camp. I myself was a summer camper my entire childhood, and maybe that's what contributed to my enthusiasm for the outdoors. But 1 week spent with your friends in a cabin full of mud, getting outside and exploring, teaches you a lot of great skills. Among them are leadership and critical thinking skills and decision making. And parents can be nervous about sending their kids to camp, but this is how your kids learn to make good decisions for themselves in a really safe and controlled atmosphere.
So what happens to the adults as they get older? They go to these camps and they're kids, they really have a good time. They grow up and all of a sudden they quit doing the outdoor stuff. Why is that?
I don't know. I think they maybe...
Not you guys, but...
I know,
Clearly
we
not.
can't imagine.
What are you talking about? You know, I think they just get so busy with work and raising kids and having families and things like that that they forget about that. And, you know, maybe they've lost some of their childlike wonder. And again, you know, maybe it's the fear of ticks and bugs and getting dirty.
So tell me a childlike wonder story of your own, like even at this point in your life where it's like, oh, this was so cool.
Oh my gosh. I'm very in touch with this and because I'm around children all the time enjoying the outdoors, so it really just takes the littlest thing for me. A couple of weeks ago, my husband and I went down to McCormick's Creek State Park, and it happened to be a week when all of the wildflowers were in bloom. And so just the opportunity to get out on trail, observe wildflowers, some that I had never seen before, and enjoy that was, to me, really refreshing and fills me up.
So yeah, my wife has an incredible amount of stuff in our backyard, and so I'm always constantly going through it. Is that a weed or is that a flower? You know? Looks pretty to me. A lot of them do. So a moment of wonder for you.
Actually last week I was at the office, and we have a lot of native plantings that we've planted around our office. And so these plantings have attracted hummingbirds. And so there's always hummingbirds sort of flitting around our windows and looking in on us, it feels like, even though they're probably not. They're just kind of, and it's just...
It's fun to imagine that they are,
It
right?
really is. So that's my wonder about it. But yeah, and they're gorgeous, and they're these amazing creatures. So
is there something that you think that if kind of a really lost opportunity here in our region? It's like, man, people just do not realize this exists, or just everybody seems to go right past it. Is there anything like that comes to mind?
I think that, you know, with the National Lakeshore and with the state park, people are very focused on going to the beach and hanging out on the sand and being in the water. And they don't necessarily venture out into the wooded areas or go climbing on the dunes and things like that. And I think that's kind of a missed opportunity. We have these great marshes and bogs and boardwalks through these places that people can explore and discover new things. And they don't always take advantage
They'll
of
drive
that.
1,000 miles, though, to see it someplace else, right?
Right. That's a very good point.
You don't realize that you can feel a million miles away right in your own backyard. Dunes Learning Center is going to have, as part of National Get Outdoors Month, a National Get Outdoors Day on June 14th. And one of the activities that I just love is called Hoosier River Watch. And last year we had the same thing, and we have hundreds of people down in the river exploring what there is with dip nets, looking at the creatures that they find and assessing water quality, muddy up to their knees, is just on the east branch of the Little Calumet River, which is within the campus of Dunes Learning Center, is to me just a hidden gem because it's just so beautiful and natural, and it's maybe a 5-10 minute walk.
We're down to a couple minutes, but I know you guys are big into the water stuff. So I think, again, there's a perception in our region that we've just got these dirty streams and no good places to go. What's wrong with that perception?
It's just not true. There's lots of places to go, and as Sandi said earlier, you know, there's probably some place that's within a mile of your house, and I know that there's a trail within at least 5 miles of your house. So I think that everybody needs to get out there and explore a lot more and discover, because, you know, a lot of our streams, you know, you could be paddling down a stream and not even realize that you're in the middle of downtown Hobart or someplace else like that. So I think they need to get out and explore.
When we fly over the area, I always notice that if you fly over Northwest Indiana, you look down and think, look at all the water down here that's not Lake Michigan. In the last few seconds, just one thing that you're planning on doing this summer, for sure, it's on your list to get done, to do this summer for fun, is what? Either one of you.
Go surfing. Practice my surfing.
Practice your surfing. On Lake
Correct.
Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. What's on your list?
My hope is to hike all of the highest dunes in Northwest Indiana.
And how many are those?
You know, I'm not really sure. There's 4 or 5 maybe more than that.
So you're going to hike all the highest ones this summer?
Yep.
All right, and you're going to surf. Where do you surf at? Which beach?
Generally, I surf at Ogden Dunes Beach. I'm a fair weather surfer, and so it's a challenge because it has to be above 70 degrees for
Can
me to
you
go.
call me so I can come and watch this? Because I could. Is it pretty funny or is it interesting?
It's fun.
Okay, it's
Not
fun.
funny.
Not funny.
It's fun.
Okay. If you could drag me out there, we'll see. And I will make sure I wear my little green band here.
Yep.
Because this says
Kids
nature.
need nature.
Kids need nature.
Nature needs kids.
Oh, awesome. That's worth it. So thank you guys for being such great cheerleaders and great enthusiasts for Northwest Indiana and all the great things that are here to do.
Thank you.
Thanks for
being here.
letting us bring it to everyone.
All right. Planned this summer. I'm not talking about work, tuning up the snowblower, or repairing your damaged snow shovels. What do you plan on doing outside enjoying Mother Nature? Let me make 5 suggestions to challenge you to take action. Get out of the house. Turn off the phone. Step away from the computer and video games. Number 1, go visit the Big Lake. Yes, there is a huge body of fresh water to our north, or east and west for our Illinois and Michigan friends. It's called Lake Michigan. We have so many beaches, dunes, and parks to choose from. Pick a spot, go there, and enjoy the wind, surf, sand, and sun. Number 2, try a festival. Our region is filled with weekends where we celebrate ethnic cultures, display hometown pride, and praise fabulous food. There are races, games, music, parades, performances, morsels to munch, and stuff to buy. Every festival is a feast for the senses. Number 3, hike or bike. When was the last time you dusted off that two-wheeler and took it for a spin? I know, the tires are flat, the chain is rusted, and the seat has gotten smaller. It misses you and wants to feel your feet pushing those pedals around. If the bike has disappeared or is beyond redemption, take a walk, stretch those legs, and get that heart rate up a few notches. Number 4, experience nature. Whether you take the time to look around your backyard, stroll through the woods, find a trail along the creek, or walk across the meadow, take a moment to see what's around you. Smell the flowers, climb a tree, dip your piggies in the water, let the wind blow through your hair. Number 5, go somewhere different. I suggest that you go to a place where you've never been. I am sure there are downtowns, parks, buildings, neighborhoods, historic sites, cultural displays, or memorials that you have not seen. The place you visit may inspire, excite, or just make you happy and content. So add these 5 categories to your summer list: the Big Lake, a festival, hike or bike, nature, and somewhere different. I'll be watching for your emails and reports on what you did this summer. We always appreciate you watching Lakeshore Focus. Tell your friends, family, and coworkers that you saw the show or watched it from your website. Yes, previous shows are on the website. That address is listed on your screen. Also, please email your comments and thoughts to Focus at lakeshorepublicmedia.org. Join us next Friday evening at 7:30 for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.